The newest film in the John Wick universe, Ballerina, has hit theaters, and being completely honest, I was shocked at how much I loved this movie. Ballerina, or I guess the real title is From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, which I imagine is probably just to get the name John Wick in the title for people to buy more tickets. Anyway, it stars Ana de Armas, Keanu Reeves, Norman Reedus, who is not in the movie nearly enough, Gabriel Byrne, Ian McShane, and of course the late great Lance Reddick, who was amazing getting to see in this franchise one last time. The film has debuted to a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is crazy high for an action movie. Getting into it, I think that this movie fits hand in glove into the John Wick franchise. It takes place between John Wick 3 and 4, but it also matches its action, its star power, and I feel like it generally feels the same as a John Wick movie overall. The standout here is obviously Ana de Armas, and I cannot emphasize enough how good she is in this movie. Now, to be honest, about halfway through, I was kind of on the fence about her performance. Now, don't get me wrong, she is probably the most natural action star I may have ever seen. But in the first half of this movie, where there's more exposition than the back half, I didn't really love her line delivery, and I kind of thought she was getting outacted by pretty much everybody around her. But I don't know what it was about that halfway point. Maybe it's because the action ramps up even more and there isn't much for her to say, but I was all in on her for the last hour or so. That seems to be the common theme for this entire movie, as the first hour kind of takes a little bit to find its footing, but once it does and gets into that flow, it does not stop at all. And story-wise, I'm shocked at how tight and cohesive this script feels, given the copious amounts of reshoots and rewrites that were done for this over the last year. If you don't know about the behind-the-scenes stuff that went on with this film, the script had to be rewritten because they didn't have enough time or money to shoot the entire thing, but then Chad Stahelski, the director of all the John Wick movies, stepped in and vouched for them to be able to finish, which led to 2 weeks of him and director Len Wiseman overseeing additional story beats and action scenes being filmed and put back into the movie. If that seems like a lot and like it would have an impact on the movie, I thought so too, but aside from one little thing, I really can't tell at all. That one thing is like a little twist that happens well over an hour into the movie, where there's a big reveal, and then 5 minutes later, without going into spoiler territory, I'll just say that reveal did not matter anymore. I imagine it probably had more prevalence in earlier versions of the script, but honestly, with how much reworking was done, if that's the only notable sign of it, then I am a happy camper. Another standout actor here is actually Gabriel Byrne. Now, I honestly did have my fair share of hesitations about him playing the main antagonist of this movie, and I feel like I was right in that. I mean, he is 75 years old, but he was surprisingly intimidating and honestly effective. Now, he's clearly not your typical Wick villain that actually fights the main character. I don't think that would be enjoyable to watch at all, but he actually works really well in the story. And also, I think that John Wick himself is utilized to perfection in this movie. If you had asked me going into it what I wanted him to do in this movie, I would have said that I wanted his appearance to feel justified, I wanted him to be more than just a cameo, and I wanted one scene that comes naturally in the story where we just get to see him go full John Wick mode. And all of that is exactly how it plays out. I don't think he takes anything away from Ana de Armas in the slightest bit. And finally, I have to talk about the action. I don't think I have ever seen a movie with this much action, if I'm being completely honest. I can think of maybe 4 or 5 straight dialogue scenes, most of them are in the first half, but the rest is just Ana de Armas shooting guns, throwing knives, throwing axes, throwing hand grenades, and a lot more things that are insane to watch. Like, there is a scene in this movie involving flamethrowers, and it's in the trailer, so it's not really spoilers, but when it was starting to happen, I was thinking that there is no way that they're going to do what I think they're about to do. And I was right, because what ended up happening was so much crazier than I had even expected. That flamethrower scene, no joke, is probably the coolest action scene I've seen in a theater probably since the third act of John Wick 4 2 years ago. This whole third act takes place at night in the snow in a beautiful small town in Austria, and the insanely cool vibes that setting creates for the final fight are unbelievable. I honestly kind of think it would have been awesome if the movie was set and released closer to Christmas time, and I think that winter aesthetic would have hit even harder. I don't know how that would work out with the John Wick 3 and 4 timeline, but I feel like it would have been really cool to see. If I had to grasp for any negatives, aside from what I already said about it needing a little bit of time to get into a flow, it would probably be that given that this movie just uses the same lore and world building from the John Wick movies, aside from Ana de Armas, there really isn't that much explored here that we don't already know. And I also feel like the story isn't quite on the levels of the John Wick stories, but still, the gap isn't very big at all. Overall, Ballerina, or From the World of John Wick Ballerina, surprised me with how awesome it was. It ramps up the action even compared to other films in the franchise, and it is extremely creative in its action and how it's filmed. It makes 2 hours go by like a breeze, and it's easily one of the best movies of the year so far. My final score for Ballerina is an 8.4 out of 10. This is, of course, just my opinion, so be sure to leave yours down below. I want to know what you thought, what you liked and didn't like about Ballerina. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and God bless.